I feel like I've been saying this a lot this playoffs, but this series is so ridiculous. And I feel like I've just, at this point, just been saying that just to say it, because there's no series that's going on, or really that's already concluded, that is comparing to the absolute insanity that we are seeing with the Philadelphia 76ers and the New York Knicks right now. Last night, the New York Knicks were in a situation in which they should have won the game, which marks possibly the third time in 5 games where I came away from the game thinking, bro, how did they just lose that? First was the insane and controversial game 2 and the ending of that game, in which the New York Knicks came back from down 5 with 30 seconds left. Then there was the insane ending of game 4 where Joel Embiid passed up a wide open midi to draw a foul. I'm not really understanding what's going on. And then the very next play where Kyle Lowry is on the free throw line and he doesn't tell his team that he's missing the free throw on purpose, which is something that I don't think I've ever seen. And I've been watching this sport for almost 2 decades now. It's just been insanity. And then you get to last night, which is literally a game 2 repeat where the Knicks are up by 6 points with 29 seconds left. And then Tyrese Maxey just does insane things. This series has been absolutely incredible. And the very first thing I want to do is apologize to New York Knicks fans for the playoff day 1 video, in which I basically just chalked up the Knicks win in game 1 as luck, which, I mean, there was luck involved, but I did say, and I did believe at the time, that the Sixers were still in a really good spot to win this series. Well, here we are, and that is not exactly the case. Game 5 is one of the craziest games I've ever seen, which is crazy because it started out looking like it was going to become one of the nastiest games of the playoffs so far, because nobody could hit a shot in the first quarter. The Knicks did start picking it up, and well, picking it up is a little bit of an understatement. They caught absolute fire throughout the ending of the first quarter and into the second, and it looked like that would be the point where they would kind of start running away with the game, especially with all the momentum that they were kind of building with that run. But the reason that they couldn't really gain any momentum after that run, Tyrese Maxey, who has really been the Sixers savior throughout the entire series, and that's not really a knock on Joel Embiid, it's just the fact that whenever the Sixers are just struggling and they need a shot, he has hit every important timely shot throughout this entire series, and that was no different in game 5. He hit a tough layup at the end of the first half to give them some momentum going into the second, which then turned it into a back and forth game instead of just fighting from behind the whole time. But once he got going, it was really tough for anybody on the Knicks to stop him, and we've seen this throughout the entire series. He's averaging 32 points, shooting 50% from the field this series. Oh yeah, and 43% from 3. Game 5, he had 46 points, which, as I said before, included some really important shots, including 2 of the craziest shots that we will probably see in this entire postseason. Down by 6, season on the line, dribbles up the court nonchalantly, gets to the left wing, pump fake, get Mitchell Robinson in the air, and somehow makes this shot, converts a 4-point play. The Sixers foul, Josh Hart comes down and splits the free throws, and it looked like they made an emphasis to try to go as quickly as possible to try to prevent the Knicks from just getting a quick foul off so that they could actually get a 3-pointer. I mean, some people may criticize Mitchell Robinson for his defense coming off the pick and roll. You can't really just assume that he's gonna shoot this. And so I don't really blame him for being a little bit lower on the screen. I mean, he's already is up way higher than we usually see him. And so I'm sure that he probably assumed that Tyrese was gonna try to go for 2. But I mean, at some point you just tip your hat to the guy for being able to hit this. 41 points after he hits the shot, and then 5 more in overtime to bring his total point total after the half to 31, of which they needed every point because of the off night from Joel Embiid. 7 for 19 from the field, but even though he wasn't really consistently hitting shots in game 5, he was doing just about everything else. He still ended up with a triple-double, 19 points, 16 rebounds, 10 assists with 4 blocks, 2 of those blocks coming in the fourth quarter and overtime, but did have 9 turnovers, mainly just because of the tough defense from the New York Knicks and how they were playing him, especially in the fourth quarter. But it was also just good old Philadelphia stupidity. There was a play that I'm thinking of right now. Joel Embiid was standing towards the right wing, a little bit inside the 3-point line. He got doubled, and nobody on the Sixers moved, even though their should have been cuts. There were wide open lanes that would have commanded more attention from the New York Knicks defense. Nothing happens. And so Joel Embiid is just forced to give the ball up or try to give the ball up. And he ends up throwing a turnover all because nobody knew how to respond to him getting doubled, at least not in the moment. And it was sort of plays like that, but also just really good defense from guys like OG Anunoby. Isaiah Hartenstein played really good defense on him, Mitchell Robinson. Like, it was just an all-around masterclass from the Knicks defense to force those 9 turnovers. But again, he did have a lot of impact in this game, even if he wasn't scoring the ball as much. Another player had a lot of impact on this game, and I never thought I'd be saying this in this series. Tobias Harris had a pretty good game today. 7 for 11, one of those shots being a pretty important clutch shot down the stretch, a possession where the entire play had kind of broken down, and he just goes in and takes a tough mid-range shot over OG Anunoby, hits it. Like, really just any important shot that Philly needed in game 5, they made it. You can also say the same about Jalen Brunson, who has been absolutely incredible since his first 2 games of the series. He had 40 points in game 5, his second consecutive 40-point game, and adding to the list of insane performances in this series, there have been a handful of games that we might consider to be the best game in this playoffs, and they've all happened between these 2 teams. You had Joel Embiid scoring 50 points in game 3, you had Jalen Brunson scoring 47 in game 4, and now Tyrese Maxey with 46 and Jalen Brunson with 40 in the same game. And also Josh Hart in game 4, had one of the most ridiculous stat lines I've ever seen. 4 points, 0 for 7 from the field, 5 fouls, 5 turnovers, 17 rebounds, 5 assists, 3 blocks. What? What is that? But my bad, I'm getting sidetracked, my bad. Jalen Brunson really started to get going in the second half. He started sort of mismatch hunting and trying to get Tobias Harris switched on him every play, and it was working out a lot. Like, pretty much every time that I could remember with Tobias Harris switching onto him, he ended up scoring. But I mean, at the same time as Jalen Brunson, there wasn't really a defender for the Sixers that could really stay in front of him or even just get a good contest up on the shot, except for Nick Batum, because at the end of the game, when the Sixers were up and needed a stop, Nick Batum was able to challenge Jalen Brunson's shot just enough to make him change his mind, and he eventually throws a turnover while looking for Isaiah Hartenstein. This is why he's in. And that was, depending on who you ask, the second or third time this series in which the team that should not have won the game ended up winning the game. And we move on to game 6 of this absolute insanity, with the Knicks looking to close out on Philly's home floor. Again, I underestimated the Knicks, and more specifically, I underestimated the stupidity of the Philadelphia 76ers, which always seems to show itself every single season, but that might be a conversation for a different day. In terms of who's winning the series, I have no idea. Well, I assume the Knicks will win the series. That would be crazy if Philly was able to come back from down 3-1, especially with Joel Embiid only being able to move at 40% speed right now. But like, game 6 is definitely a must win for the Knicks, obviously, but even more so when you consider the amount of momentum that Philly will have going into game 7, even if it's on the road. And so it's going to be important for New York to close this thing out in game 6, and they can do that with the main factor that helped them win their first 3 games of this series, which was the rebounding battle. In game 1, the Knicks won the rebounding battle by 22. In game 2, they won the rebounding battle by 2. And in game 4, they won the rebounding battle by 10. And so really, the team that has won the rebounding battle in this series went on to win the game, essentially, because the Knicks lost the rebounding battle in games 3 and 5, the only games that they've lost in the series. And so I feel like that's going to be a major point of emphasis and something to look forward to as we anticipate whatever the hell is about to happen in game 6, because this is gonna be crazy. But that's about it for me. That's about all I can think to add at this point. I know I said I would be uploading every other day. I know I caved already. I just needed the weekend, with all due respect. The video I uploaded before the weekend was me talking about the Phoenix Suns and just everything that they've done wrong within the last year and a half or so, and how they've gotten themselves to this point, and explaining how it's going to be very difficult for them to get out of the situation. So if that's something that you're interested in, you can watch that by clicking right here. But with all that being said, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Subscribe if you're new. Hit the bell to be notified when I upload. Comment down below what you want to see next. And as always, I'll see you guys in the next one.